Welcome to another edition of eXp's Commercial Advisor Spotlight. I am Sean Murphy, the Senior Vice President of Commercial Growth, and I have my partner here.
Hey, I'm Lyndee McNeese. I am the Commercial Growth Manager. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. We have a great special guest today. We have not only an experienced commercial advisor, he is also a multi-state managing broker for commercial. And I want to introduce Danny Brickey. Danny, it's really great to see you. How you doing?
Cheers, doing great, and you hit it right on the head there. Currently for EXP Commercial, I am brokering for the states of Arkansas, Alabama, Iowa, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So covering a pretty good, diverse regionally across the country, and really it was a directive that we kind of had thrown out there from the first year. So I've been spending really the last 6 months attaining license in each of those states. So a lot of crossover, a lot of test taking, and a lot of state laws that get kind of jumbled up in the head there.
Danny, I remember when you first joined us, and I was so excited. Just the energy that you give, that comes off of you, and also just how you give back, right? So not only did you come in as a broker of ours, as an advisor, then very quickly became the designated managing broker in Arkansas, which one of the things here that we do is, we make sure that the advisors are successful. And so this is where I'm excited that you have taken the leap. You are now covering 5 states for us, but also you're a mentor. So talk about, the what that looks like, and being a mentor to some of these junior agents as they come in, just the importance of that.
Why I decided to join EXP Commercial, because let me just say, previous to this, and why I like giving back is, traditionally I come from a different field, right? I understand and know very well what it is to be in like a corporate position, doing like in and outside sales, coming from corporate, going, hey, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to start dabbling. This is something I see. I'm going to start dabbling with this on the side. And what prompted me to do that was my first house buy. Wasn't not necessarily a bad buy, but I did it not using a realtor, and outside with like a friend, and come from a very rural area where I know a lot of people are not, we're not taught about house purchases in school or finances necessarily or anything like that. So a lot of it was a fact finding on my end to just take an opportunity. And then I found out about, how you get licensed, how you start, working in real estate. So I was very much in the lockdown in the corporate world. And then, was just looking to do something aside, because I wasn't necessarily happy there, and looking to more or less work independently and kind of take the reins and be responsible for my own self and treat my own self as a company, kind of that entrepreneurial spirit. And I understand, making that jump into real estate, especially commercial real estate's difficult, right? So get your license, start doing it on the side. And it's one of those things. I understand it's hard jumping out. I also had a friend and kind of a mentor, Jordan Haas, who still has the license here with EXP Commercial, was one of our DMBs for in Alaska for a while. But he's since moved across the pond and is actually living over in London right now, while his wife's finishing up like a public service school or something like that. So, and him and I are still partners. But he's one of those guys that, had gotten his license when he was 17, had kind of been plugging away, launched his own property management company like in 08, 09, like right after the crash, right? Everybody was upside down on their houses at that point in time. A lot of people were doing with single family residences at that point in time was renting them out and cash flowing them. They were upside down. They couldn't sell or move away from any one area without taking a loss, and weren't looking to do that. So it was a good business model at that point in time. And for me, it was jumping in with him in that company. I invested in that company, wife, for anybody out there that's looking to take that entrepreneurial jump, please do not do it while your wife is in grad school, right? Your wife is in grad school. I decided to quit my job, take all of my retirement money at that point in time, our retirement money. We were newly married, so I wasn't really thinking of it as our retirement money yet, which I quickly got corrected on pretty fast there. So moved it over to a self-directed IRA, which allowed me to buy and hold real estate in it. And then him and I started investing, buying up commercial properties downtown, in the downtown Little Rock area. So things for me on that, but it was still a sharp learning curve. Even though I had someone kind of giving me business and feeding me business, it's still a sharp learning curve. And having someone there that goes, hey, this is how you negotiate these deals. This is the steps, X, Y, and Z. Because especially in Little Rock, Arkansas, and tertiary markets, you end up wearing a lot of hats, right? I know through our academy, we really do preach, picking one focus area to start with. And really that's from the standpoint of, if you have one focus area, you really got to get all your other stuff in line, right? And that's how to conduct yourself as a business professional, making sure that, we have all of our tools for business planning and everything else. You get all those things in line. And then once you're transacting in commercial real estate, especially in one focus area, it's not too far of a jump to do other focus areas, because, 60% of the work is the same. It's just how the 40% nuanced is the different focus areas, right? So once you get one part of it down and process and get to transacting, then you can ramp up and scale out. And I like helping people through that process, right? I didn't know where to go and look for information, right? When you're a commercial real estate professional, you're kind of an investigator as well. Is where do I pull my data from? What are the kind of tips and tricks and little nuances that you find to go after clients and find business? And how do you, present yourself? How do you work with other brokers? What is considered bad form when negotiating contracts or whatever it is? Like there's a lot of kind of minutia that goes along with what we do that I had to learn on my own. Yeah. I've taken listings that were bad listings. I've worked way too hard for clients or owners. Not saying that you shouldn't work hard for your clients or owners or investors that you're representing, but at the same time, you work for 18 months at something and look back and realize you were working for 50 cents an hour by the time you look at all the time and effort that you put into it. And that's not necessarily where you want to be either, right? So it's also teaching people it's okay to be selective about your clientele and thing. And we're all hungry, right? And especially right now, the market, especially in commercial, is slowed a little bit. So people are looking for any opportunity they can take, but you still also need to be selective about where you're placed time. Sometimes well-placed time's better than just, just doing work for the sake of work or just taking whatever kind of comes to you. So from my standpoint, yeah, just always giving back. And then for every state that I'm in, I thought it was always that I brokered for. I thought it was always important that as a state broker in charge to be accessible as a mentor, right? If you're new and coming in, I'm going to be the person signing off and handling a lot of your transactions and double checking your paperwork and everything. There are other mentors in those areas that can be there if you want. If you need a fallback, or then I'm here. I always want to be available or accessible by the people that I'm brokering for, to kind of, in this digital environment, sometimes it's hard to build culture or the sense of being together and that, because we're all kind of working for separate areas. So trying to figure out ways to foster that as much as possible and just be accessible for the agents.
There you go. I want to back it up a little bit. You had mentioned the academy. I get calls every day from residential agents who would like to transition into the commercial world or into the business brokering world, as well as newer agents or agents who are juniors at other companies. You have an academy and you have mentors. Do you take personal responsibility for them? Do you help them out? How do you deal with that?
Just like almost every commercial real estate deal, it's a case by case business, because you're dealing with different personalities every time. Some personalities are matched, some are not. So we do put the power in our mentees' hands to decide, who's helping them out the best. From my standpoint, is really just on the first thing is assessing what their needs are. Some agents to begin with are higher needs than others, right? Some have a really good understanding of landscape because they come from some sort of they may have worked in the lending environment, the insuring environment. We do get a lot of agents jumping off that are commercial adjacent careers, right? So they already have maybe inputs or business that they're going after. So the lift is not as much. And then you have some agents that are coming in that it's all new to them, right? So it's breaking down, okay, where do you want to start? How do you envision and seeing this? How do we get you from point A to point B? What are, key performance indicators that we can put in place to make sure that you're tracking and doing what you need to do? EXP does provide tools for the mentors to give mentees to help track some of that. And then take personal account. Yeah, there is pride of graduating people through the program and then seeing them go on to do business. And a lot of the times, once you help them graduate through the program, they're still relatively new. So a lot of times it will take the form of a junior senior agent role where, you're still working with that person to do deals or help facilitate them, for some sort of compensation there, right? Or whatever you may work out with that person, but still be a person, a coach. And I'm an open book. I tell people through our classes all the time, call me, right? The first way you start transacting in commercial real estate is talking about commercial real estate, right? Every person that you talk to, you should be talking about it. Every other professional, you should be getting their opinion on how they view the market and what's going on, right? Like there should never be a lack of conversation around what you're doing.
Danny, I just also to kind of go back to something that you mentioned a second ago that does take place in the academy. You have a pretty specific area that you transact in for commercial. And I'm very curious to know how does one ever get into something like that? So basically, you take these this historic districts and you help turn them into hotels. Is this what I'm understanding correctly?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
where did that come from?
So to back up, it comes from when we were expanding our property management company, we got into buying old buildings in the downtown Little Rock corridor. How we got into hospitality, I mean, that's what I tell people all the time is when you start down your commercial real estate career, you don't know where that path's really going to go, right? Like we were trying to be property management guys extraordinaire, trying to grow our footprint with some commercial stuff, but really we were buying up the buildings because we wanted to do a residential component in them. And we were looking to bid on one building that was in downtown Little Rock. It's the Holland Davidson building, had a restaurant operating in the bottom. The rest of it was all empty, right? It was this old classic building right on Capitol Street. Like you walk out front, you can look right down straight down the street to the Arkansas State Capitol, right? It's right across from the large Bank of America building here, right in our central corridor. Nobody's using it. As we all know, office space has been dwindling even pre-COVID. It's been just kind of hanging in there, right, as an asset class. So we were looking at it to do a multifamily renovation, put multifamilies in it, and add to our doors, and look at it from that investment. Got the hotel guy that's a hotel expert. He showed us the cash flows from hotel, versus the cash flows from doing it multifamily, which were better for how this particular building laid out. So then we went, it's like, hey, we got a great idea. We've only got so much capital. What do we do? So then we, started searching for, other investors in the greater Little Rock market, put our first like full deal together. And now it's that building's an AC Marriott in downtown Little Rock now, right? We started that process in 2016. And, it took us, large deals like that with a lot of scope, time, and effort. Here's the downside of it. And you never know which way commercial real estate's going to turn, because we went to open it. Grand opening was February 2020, when the governor shut our grand opening week was the week they shut the state down for COVID, right? So immediately we bring a hospitality product online and everything shuts down for COVID for a year. So guess what you don't want to be invested in when nobody's traveling, nobody's booking hotels anywhere, nobody's going anywhere, everything's shut down.
It's your kind of experience that are turning our mentees and our younger agents. EXP's young now, very diverse. It's a whole new world, this virtual world of real estate, commercial real estate, and you're what's making that move forward. Before I let Lyndee lead us out, what would you say to somebody coming into this virtual world? What's the biggest thing they need to know?
It's really built for self-starters and people that want to get after it, right? Like there's not an office, there's no one with you don't have a boss that's driving you every day. You have to get up every morning and want to go transact and find those opportunities. But if you're a self-starter person, right, in this digital platform, because there's a lot of information, everything's online. And that's why a lot of things are trending nowadays. This is a great opportunity. What I will say is previous in everything I've done, EXP Commercial is the first branded brokerage that I've worked with, right? I was an independent, and it stayed independent because I like the autonomy that give me, but then also lacked from the idea of having a brand that was nationwide attached to me, that was giving me backup and support on certain things. So if you're like me and want that autonomy to be able to run your business and do what you want to do, but need a flagship to kind of attach to, then this is where you want to be. This is where you need to be. And I think as we continue to grow in our model, it's unique, it's different. I think changing the way commercial real estate is done is not something that's going to happen overnight. But I think, with the people that we have in charge and how we're trying to attempt to do this, and people will say that we're silly for making a run at it or doing whatever, but it's, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, it's a successful brand and brokerage for a reason, and we're going to continue to drive that narrative and be those people. And then anytime someone does something new, other people, there's going to be naysayers, right? There's going to be people, but persistence and sticking with it is how we get ahead and how we're going to continue to get ahead. It's how we got ahead in the past. When they launched a commercial brokerage again, when Glenn launched this initially just as EXP, they probably thought it was silly then, but they're not laughing now, right? Like, not the way that this has grown, not the way that this is going to continue to grow. And yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. There's going to be bumps and bruises. There's going to be things to figure out, but we have the right people in the places to figure those things out. Everything has problems. It's just, how do you mitigate them? How do you work through them? And how do you continue to be successful and drive on? And we have the mindset to do that.
Thank you for being one of our early adopters, right? It takes early adopters to come in here and be able to see this and to understand it. And you have really embraced that. So we just want to thank you for all that you do and giving back to the advisors here by being a commercial designated managing broker for 5 states, which, wow. But also for just trusting in this and coming and being a huge advocate for EXP Commercial and for all of the junior advisors that we have. I want to thank everybody else that has been here today to watch this. Please reach out to Danny, danny.brickey@expcommercial.com. If you have any questions about anything that he's talked about today, he's a wealth of knowledge. Please make sure you reach out. Thank you, Sean Murphy, Senior Vice President of EXP Commercial, for hosting with me today. And make sure you all follow us on LinkedIn. Yep. Stay up to date with all of the events and things that we have going on.
Thanks
everybody for coming.
Your summer.